The richest client I ever had died alone in a hospital room with no one holding his hand. He was worth over $200 million. He had a house in Aspen, an apartment in Manhattan, a yacht he used twice. He had 3 children who had not spoken to him in years. He had 2 ex-wives who took his calls only through attorneys. The nurses told me he kept asking for someone named Margaret. Margaret was his college girlfriend. He had left her 54 years earlier because she was not ambitious enough for him. She was a kindergarten teacher. He wanted someone who matched his trajectory. He found her. Then he found another. Then another. He climbed and climbed and climbed. And at the end, on a morphine drip in a private room that cost $4,000 a night, he was calling out for a kindergarten teacher from Indiana who had loved him when he had nothing. I tell you this not to say money is bad. Money is not bad. Money is not good. Money is neutral. It is a tool, like a hammer. You can build a house with it, or you can destroy one. What matters is the hand that holds it and the mind that directs it. I spent 35 years as a wealth management advisor watching what money does to people, watching how it reveals them, twists them, frees them, traps them. I manage portfolios for families across 3 generations. I saw grandparents build, parents inherit, and grandchildren destroy. I saw patterns repeat so predictably it was almost boring. And I saw the rare ones who got it right, who understood something about money that most people never figure out until it is too late. Here is what I know. Most of you watching this are making mistakes with money right now. Not math mistakes, behavior mistakes, psychology mistakes. You are operating on assumptions you have never examined. You are repeating patterns your parents taught you without knowing they taught you anything. You are chasing numbers without knowing why. And one day you are going to wake up and realize you traded years of your life for something that did not actually make you happy. I want to tell you what nobody told me when I was starting out. What I had to learn by watching hundreds of families make the same mistakes over and over. The first thing is this: money will not change who you are. It will amplify who you already are. If you are generous with a little, you will be generous with a lot. If you are anxious with a little, you will be more anxious with a lot. I had a client, a woman who inherited $11 million from her mother. Within 3 years, she had given away nearly $4 million of it, not to charity, to family members who asked for help, to friends who had business ideas, to her adult children who always needed a little more. She could not say no. She had never been able to say no. The money did not create that problem. It revealed it. It gave her problem more room to operate. I had another client inherit roughly the same amount. He immediately cut off contact with most of his family because he was convinced they would ask him for money. He became suspicious of everyone. He trusted no one. He hired people to manage every aspect of his life and then fired them because he suspected they were stealing from him. He died with most of his inheritance intact and almost no relationships left. The money did not make him paranoid. He was always paranoid. The money just gave his paranoia a bigger stage. Before you focus on making more money, understand your relationship with the money you have. What does it mean to you? Not what you say, what you actually feel. Do you spend when you are sad? Do you hoard when you are scared? Do you hide purchases? Do you lie about prices? Do you feel shame when you have less than others? Do you feel superior when you have more? Your patterns are already there. More money will not fix them. It will magnify them. The second thing I need to tell you is about enough. Nobody knows what enough means anymore. I sat across from people worth $50 million who could not sleep because they were afraid of losing it. I sat across from people worth $300,000 who had peace because they knew exactly what they needed and they had it. The number is almost irrelevant. What matters is the relationship between what you have and what you believe you need. I watched a man destroy everything chasing a number. He came to me worth $53 million. That should have been enough for 10 lifetimes. But he had friends worth more. He read about people worth more. He felt like he was falling behind, so he took bigger risks, leveraged positions, concentrated bets. He was trying to get to 100 million. Then the market turned. In 11 months, he lost $47 million. When he sat in my office at the end, worth maybe $6 million, he was broken. Not because $6 million is poverty, it is not, but because he had defined his entire identity by a number, and the number had collapsed. He never asked himself the question, how much is enough? He could not answer it at 53 million, and he could not answer it at 6 million. The emptiness inside him was not a money problem. It was a meaning problem. No amount was ever going to fill it. Ask yourself right now, what is your number? The number where you would stop chasing and start living. If you cannot answer that question, you will chase forever, and you will never catch it, because the finish line keeps moving. Now I want to talk about what money does to marriages. I have seen more marriages destroyed by money than by affairs. Financial conflict is the #1 predictor of divorce. But here is what people miss. The fights are never really about the money. They are about what money represents: security, control, freedom, status. When two people have different definitions of what money means, they think they are fighting about the budget. They are actually fighting about their deepest fears and needs. I had clients, married 30 years, who screamed at each other constantly about spending. He wanted to save everything. She wanted to enjoy life. They nearly divorced 3 times. When I finally got them to talk about what money actually meant to them, the truth came out. He grew up poor. Money meant safety. Every dollar she spent was a dollar of safety she was throwing away. She grew up wealthy. Her family lost everything when she was 14. To her, money was temporary. It could vanish overnight. So she wanted to use it while it was there. They were not fighting about money. They were fighting about childhood wounds they had never discussed. If you are in a relationship, have the real conversation, not about budgets, about what money means, what you are afraid of, what happened when you were young, what you dream about. Most couples never have that conversation. They fight about the symptoms instead of the cause, for 30 years sometimes. Do not be one of those couples. Let me tell you about work, because I watched people trade their entire lives for money they never got to enjoy. My first husband was one of them, Thomas. He was a corporate attorney, brilliant, driven. He worked 70 hours a week for 30 years. He had a file in his desk labeled retirement plans, brochures for trips we were going to take, Italy, New Zealand, Alaska. He was going to retire at 60, and we were finally going to live. He died at 58, heart attack, Tuesday afternoon, his office. I cleaned out that desk. I found those brochures. We never took any of those trips. All those hours he billed, all those weekends he missed, all those vacations he postponed. For what? Money in an account he never got to spend, a retirement he never got to have, a wife who had to learn how to live without him when she thought she had decades left with him. You are trading your life for money every time you go to work. Hours of your one finite life in exchange for dollars. That is the deal. The question is whether you are getting a fair trade. I watched people trade their health, their marriages, their children's entire childhoods. They were going to enjoy life later. Later came, and they were too sick, too tired, too alone, too estranged from the people they had neglected. I am not saying do not work hard. I am saying be honest about what you are trading. Every hour at the office is an hour not spent somewhere else. Make sure you are choosing that trade with open eyes. I want to tell you about the people who understood money, because I did not only see disasters. I saw people who got it right. They had things in common. They knew what enough meant for them personally. They valued freedom over status. They understood that money is a tool, not a scoreboard. One of my favorite clients was a school janitor. He mopped floors for 43 years. He came to me at 55 with $200,000 saved. I asked him how he did it on his salary. He said he had never bought a new car, never taken a vacation requiring a plane, never ate at restaurants more than once a month. He said he did not feel deprived. He felt free. He owed nothing to anyone. He did not need to impress anyone. He retired at 62 with over $400,000 and a small pension. He traveled by train across the country. He visited every national park. He died at 81, having done everything he wanted to do. He was wealthier than clients worth 50 times more, because he knew what enough meant. Compare him to the partners at law firms, the executives at Fortune 500 companies. They made millions. They also had mortgages on houses too big for their families, cars leased to impress colleagues, private school tuition that required them to keep working jobs they hated, trapped by their own success. The more they made, the more they spent. The more they spent, the more they needed to make. A prison that looks like freedom from outside. I need to talk about children and inheritance, because I watched families destroy themselves. The worst fights I witnessed were not between strangers. They were between siblings, brothers and sisters who had loved each other their whole lives, suddenly at war over who got the house, who got the jewelry, who Dad loved more based on how he divided the estate. Money brings up every unresolved feeling, every childhood wound, every competition parents thought they had managed fairly. I watched a family, 4 adult children, completely fracture after their mother died. She left slightly more to the youngest because he had less. The other 3 interpreted this as proof she had always loved him more. They hired lawyers. They contested the will. They spent more on legal fees than the difference in inheritance. They have not spoken in 9 years. Over a gap of maybe $80,000 and a lifetime of feeling unseen. If you have children, talk to them about your estate plan now. Explain your reasoning, while they can ask questions, while there is time to address old wounds. Your will does not speak for itself. People project meaning onto silence, and the meanings they project are usually the most painful ones. Here is something I wish someone had told me when I was young. The best investment you will ever make is not in the market. It is in yourself, your skills, your health, your relationships, your ability to create value and solve problems. I watched clients lose half their portfolios in crashes and recover because they could still work. I watched clients with fat portfolios become helpless when their industry changed because they had stopped learning 20 years earlier. You are the asset. Invest in yourself first. Learn constantly. Stay healthy. Build relationships with people who tell you the truth. The money follows value, and if it does not, you still have something no market crash can take. I need to tell you about time. Everyone says money cannot buy time. Everyone lives like it is not true. They postpone joy, postpone rest, postpone the trip and the conversation and the reconciliation. They are going to do it later, 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 later. Then later does not come. Or it comes and they are too old or too sick or too estranged. You are not promised later. You are only promised now. The money you are saving for someday might never get spent. The experiences you are postponing might never happen. I am not saying spend everything. I am saying find the balance. Take the trip while you can walk. Have the conversation while you can remember. Tell them you love them while they can hear it. I have sat with dying people. I have sat with the widows and widowers in the weeks after. You know what they talked about? Not portfolio returns, not estate tax strategies. They talked about time, time they had, time they wasted, time they wished they could recover. The money did not comfort them. The memories did. I am 77 years old now. I retired over a decade ago, but I think about my clients every day. The ones who got it right, the ones who got it wrong. I think about what I would tell them if I could start over, what I would tell myself. Money is a tool. It can build a beautiful life or a miserable one, depending on how you use it. But you have to understand yourself first, your fears, your patterns, your definition of enough. Without that understanding, no amount will ever feel like enough. You will be that man with $200 million dying alone, calling out for a kindergarten teacher who loved him when he had nothing. Or you can be the janitor, content, free, rich in the ways that actually matter. That choice is not made with money. It is made with awareness, with honesty, with the courage to ask yourself what you actually want and then to live accordingly. I watched hundreds of people make that choice. Most of them chose wrong. They chased numbers. They compared themselves to neighbors. They postponed living until they had enough, and they never had enough. Do not be them, please. Figure out what enough means to you. Have the hard conversations now. Invest in yourself and your relationships, not just your portfolio. Stop trading your entire life for money you might never enjoy. The time to start is not later. There might not be a later. The time to start is today.